Everybody say yeah.
Well, it's got, I've always sort of known the structure of Phonogram, and it was a case of, it's one of the reasons why we wanted to do one more, because this one will kind of round off the characters. You know, it's when we leave it, Emily and Cole and everyone will have changed forever, and the people will be entirely fine with us. The actual story is called The Immaterial Girl. It's about, its primary driving force is basically a war of personalities between Emily Astor, who's basically the Coven witch, and the half of her personality she sold to gain power. Which exists in the land behind the screen. We've introduced them, Emily and Claire, in Singles Club, and Emily was obviously in the first book as well. But this is like really, you know, the full thing. Yeah, and its major influences are, you know, it's primarily about identity, which is Phonogram's main theme, and specifically how that relates to image. It was originally called The Word Girl, as in the word girl, which is a quotation from a Scritti Politti song. But I prefer to have my own titles really for Phonogram. And its major sort of thing is 80s pop music videos. It's basically dovetailing all 80s pop music videos and how that fundamentally transformed the way people consume music, and the fall of a certain part of indie culture in 2009. So it's weirdly, it's the most pop, or it's the most, these are references, you know, almost everyone's going to get. At the same time, it's also the weirdest, most underground one at the same time. So it pushes to both extremes. You know, it's fundamentally, what's the word? It believes that, you know, a-ha's Take On Me video is probably the greatest work of art in the 20th century. You know, and that's what we take.
Looking forward to it?
It'll be fun. It's like, yeah, we're really trying to push it. You know, Phonogram's pretty much where I do more experimentation and try to bring stuff next. I'll tell you what, it's like, weirdly, if you actually go through my books, you can see the video game influence occasionally. I mean, there's a sort of thing that Loki gives, you know, this turns up repeatedly as we go through doing its mystery. Yeah. Loki says, this isn't a story, this is a game. And the question of what is a story and what is a game is fundamental. If you look back at the fine print arc, my last of the 4 arc, I was playing a lot of Sonic Infernum around then, you know? So, you know, deal making and treachery and hell, it's not exactly, the inspiration's hard to see. So all that's kind of there. People ask, you know, why don't you do something more like Phonogram? And it's just like, the idea doesn't really seem to be there. I've got a few specific deconstructionary stories I want to do. I've got a story which is basically Audition, the Miike Takeshi film meets The Sims. That's something I want to do. I was vaguely on a book called Multimedium, which I don't think I'm ever going to do now. But Multimedium was basically everything I learned when I was a games journalist thrown through a metaphor. So that was all about the consummate, basically selling escapism, or the journalism of escapism, and it's the anti-transmetropolitan, in that it's about the fundamental impotence of journalism. Oh yeah. Yeah, basically, but I don't think I'm going to do that now. Okay. I'll be surprised if I ever go back to it. But you know, you never know. I have stuff bubbling along, but I think it's more likely to be subtle rather than actually an overt, here is a Phonogram but about games. Yes, basically. I've been, in fact, I must admit, it stepped up a gear after the relaunch. Because it's kind of, I knew in 11 issues' time we're going to be AVXing, so I wanted to feel natural. On the other hand, you can look at like the last, even before I joined the X-Men, it's all essentially foreshadowing a more militant Cyclops. Since I know AVX was coming, even when I took over, I was always looking at ways to basically build towards it. It's a natural, it's an enormous conclusion. So it's stuff like, you can see Cyclops' growing militancy. You can see Cyclops' disappointment in humans in terms of like, the fear itself arc. It was like, well, pretty much oh God, okay, I'm willing to threaten you now. You stop just treating me like your puppy. And there's, if you look back to, obviously Hope's clearly very important in AVX, but you remember I did an issue about Hope and Wolverine. And if you go through different bits and filters, and it's all been building towards AVX. That's been kind of my thing. And the majority of like a lot of the plots, like the Colossus plot and the Sinister plot, they reach their big climax in AVX as well. It's one of the things. It's a sort of thing where I think it's probably best not to talk anything at all about what happens in AVX. It is a big. It's kind of like let's say I said let's say I'm staying on Uncanny. That implies there's going to be an Uncanny. That implies that I don't want to close off any possible plot by saying what I'm doing. Partially because obviously Marvel will kill me as well. But I don't think it's I just really want to concentrate on what was ahead. And it's kind of like I've been building so much towards this stuff. This is like very, very much where my head is at now. It's fun, obviously we're the big crossover, Exiled is the important crossover, AVX is a minor secondary concern.
Well, I actually had the same thing with Fear itself.
Exiled actually isn't actually tied into AVX, it's its own thing entirely. It's fun to return to it. It's kind of like, we sort of knew you see like in the issue 632, the Help Up the issue, you can see us basically... We're putting connective tissue there. We can develop, and the Desir were characters who debuted in New Mutants, that one-off issue. So there's always natural stuff there, and this is for me. And there's a long tradition of New Mutants and Asgard books. It just feels quite natural. What we're doing this is the reverse, basically. It's the fun of it. It's like normally it's the New Mutants go to Asgard, have Asgardian adventures, come home. This is very much Asgardians being processed into the real world. It's quite. I wouldn't say it's like feels more Jim in tone than New Mutants, but it's got a collision between the two, and it's definitely got that kind of weird combination of essential comedy. It's a mixture of comedy and whimsicality and outright horror, and it kind of all builds about the Desir. I'm finally going to tell the truth about the Desir. I'm going to tell I'm going to get the full story. It's going to be good. The political stuff is like, weirdly I didn't do as much of it as I thought I was going to do so far in Jim, but it's the background, the idea that the Pantheons interact. They have I put the concept of the law of non-intervention, the idea that a Pantheon's business is its own business. That's why you didn't get Zeus messing in with Fear itself. And of course now I put that on the table, that obviously is going to be important in, for example, the rest of Jim. I wish I'd actually read Game of Thrones, but when I started typing Jim, because I would have said it's Game of Thrones in the Marvel Universe, which is a complete lie. But it's but the idea of the politics and it's a lot less rapey. Is a good way of describing Jim to But yeah, that's really the idea of like, let's take these mythological beings and we'll play some downbeat political games with them. With Loki, who is of course a kid trickster, which changes the tone again. It's fun. I think that's an area I find interesting. If you look back at the fine print, which is, I said a lot that the full arc, the whole of the forum was done at enormous velocity. I never really had a chance to consider what I was doing. But that final arc is kind of prototypical Jim, in that it's not quite as well thought out as a Jim. But me politics and hell deals, that's kind of our yard boat. This is me sort of feeling out everything. And when Siege Loki was basically where everything starts. That's when I get my big insight into both Loki and also an insight of how a story based around a character a bit like this could work. So yeah. What I do, I've got a fundamental ability to get very bored. As in, I don't really. I like switching around. Here's another way of putting it. I couldn't write Phonogram. I couldn't do 3 books like Phonogram. It would kill me because Phonogram is just really hard work. And it's good having done it, but it's murderously complicated. And in different books took on the point. It's kind of like I'm writing issue like 12 of Uncanny, which is so far my Uncanny one's really, really serious. Issue 12's kind of a romp. I was going to make it quite. And then it's like, no, let's have Namor do some. Namor was the thing. We can have some fun here. And you mix it up. I do anything to avoid being bored. I mean, Journey to Mystery couldn't be much more different than Uncanny. You know, Uncanny is this quite serious urban militia kind of book. You know, Jim is this pop Sandman basically. But yeah, I mean, they all provide different challenges, and if I was doing two books for the same, even though when I was doing J-Hope and Uncanny at the same time, they were sufficiently different books to not bore me. But yes. And the big thing, I don't have to choose. That's the big thing. You know, you get different kicks from working on an Uncanny than you do from Phonogram. Well, in fact, I've got more creator own work coming out like late this year, so you know all those are different from each other as well. Just don't bore me. You know, if I'm bored, everyone else will be bored as well.
Oh, luckily you're not bored.
Yes, when I'm bored, then you should worry.
Right, we'd like to thank you for this interview.
Dude, thank you for your time. It's been awesome. Thank you for the support.